What's going on there, folks? Good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster back here once again on this Friday. Finally Friday. Made it through the week. Weekend is definitely upon us. It is August 25th, 2023, about 12:09 California time, PM here. Along the west coast, latest activity looks like a 1.1, and that's about the only one, the most recent quake there on the globe. Still looking at some activity kicking up there in Southern California. In Northern California, we did have an earthquake pop in here. I believe it was really close to a four-pointer up here into the geysers area just outside of Clear Lake Volcanic Field. Unless they dropped that. Let me see here. Oh, there it is. Hiding. It's hiding in the mix of earthquakes out here across the Cobb Mountain area. Of course, this is the Calpine Hydrothermal Energy Solutions out here. There's quite a few facilities that process. Well, it's a whole operation. I'm not going to go into it, but their process involves some activities underground, the heated surface below, or the heated areas below, producing energy. And it involves earthquake activity as well. The whole process does. And this is very typical to see this activity. Sometimes we get some bigger swarms and some larger magnitudes, but four-pointer kicking up there about 7 o'clock this morning in the area of the Clear Lake Volcanic Field. If you ever get time, check that out on your search engine. It's a really interesting process, what they do down there. All right, Northern California did have some activity up here across Redding yesterday. Far as the movement goes today, it looks like another earthquake here off the coast of Eureka and Arcata near the Cascadia mega thrust area. That's 19 kilometers deep into that subduction zone. Here's yesterday's earthquake off the coast in the Blanco fracture zone. Not a whole lot further up and down the board, though. Some minor activity across the Cascades. And Yellowstone, let's key over here to Yellowstone real quick, see what we got going on. Couple smaller quakes. Let's key up the Yellowstone thumbnail overview, which gives us a good overview of earthquake activity across the park here. Here's the Yellowstone caldera in the black line here, the black outline. Lake Yellowstone in the blue. And looks like a little bit of earthquake activity here around the northwest corner of the park in the red. Those are going to be some small earthquakes. Looks like there was a handful in the last 24 hours. Doesn't look like there's anything major going on there. Some of those being reported, but it looks like they're only reporting a handful of those quakes that popped up there today. Again, nothing big. All those look like they're under the 2.0 threshold. Let's see here. All right, we kind of made a loop around here. Let's go back to California, see if we got anything else popping up here. This is from yesterday, 2.1 on the San Andreas Fault. Southern California did have some activity last night near the Los Angeles area. Looks like we have a little bit more this morning as well with a 2.7 coming in. That's goodness, just directly underneath Carson, California area. Quite a few fault systems known and I'm sure unknown across this area of the state. This one occurring within a couple of these fault systems here, most likely associated with the Newport fault. One up here as well. Of course, this region outside of Ventura has been swarming. Although it looks like it is dying down, we still get some random earthquake activity here periodically. So we'll continue to watch that. As far as the San Andreas Fault itself, watching this little cluster. It looks like it died off here last night, had a couple more earthquakes early in the morning, and then just disappeared. But we'll continue to watch this area as signs like that. Just obvious that some major pressure built up here against the plate boundary. The latest on the map, though, a 1.1 near Mojave. Looking across the rest of the map, New Madrid seismic zone showing a little bit of activity, a little bit more than average. Had a 2.4 just prior to midnight and a couple other smaller quakes in here as well. That's, again, associated with the New Madrid seismic zone. A little bit of activity up against the Appalachian Mountains as well from yesterday. Let's see, Puerto Rico area. A couple smaller quakes there. South America, a couple 4s there from earlier this morning, I believe. Let's see what we got. Santiago, Chile area from last night. Looks like all 3 of these. 3. Oh, we have the Mid-Atlantic Ridge over here as well. All 3 of those from yesterday. I'm sure there's some smaller quake activity going on there, but not above the 4.0 threshold. South Sandwich Trench, a little bit of a further uptick down here, it looks like, across the northern edge and the southern end of the subduction zone here that sits. You can pretty much see it right there in the oceanic crust. What was it about, was it 2 years ago? Had an 8-pointer down here, 8.1 I believe. 4.9 and a 5.2 today though. 3:33 in the morning for that 4.9. Goodness. All right, let's see. Big Island of Hawaii. This has been fairly active outside of the Kilauea volcano recently. It looks like still a handful of earthquakes there in the vicinity of south of the crater. Let's go ahead and check out the latest information here from the HVO, which was put out today. It looks like 25th, and that's kind of weird. I don't know why it does that. Currently not erupting. That's Kilauea volcano. The summit is currently exhibiting signs of elevated unrest, meaning inflationary tilt and earthquake activity. Most of this earthquake activity has been at a depth of about 1 to 2 miles, that's 2 to 3 kilometers below the surface, with no upward migration yet. The recent general trend of inflationary tilt on summit tilt meters also continued through the past day, but with a little bit of minor deflationary tilt in the last couple hours. Continue to watch that though. All right, over here across Japan, a couple earthquakes kicking up here yesterday and today, 4.5. Looks like this area wants to move right up here. Got some a little bit of deeper activity yesterday, followed up by some shallower movement there around the Japan Trench. Kuro Kamachaka Trench, pretty quiet. And the rest of the board here, across this region, most of this here is from yesterday. We did have one shallow earthquake here near the Tonga region earlier this morning. So that kind of looks like our quiet zone today. Not a whole lot showing up here on the map, but again, this is USGS 4.0 and above, along with 1.7 and above for the states and U.S. territories. Over here, we got the EMSC model showing some of the smaller quake activity on the globe. Looks like there's a pretty good swarm of activity around the Azores taking place. Let's go check out the EMSC real quick. Stand by for a second here. I'll get this keyed up. So that earthquake activity, looks like one more in the last hour or so. 2.5. They're showing a little bit more on the globe than, I think this is some older activity over the past couple days. Either way, a slight uptick there. It looks like across the Azores. It's been a little bit active out there recently. Kind of hiding underneath one another there, but you can see a few earthquakes out there. Again, a couple divergent boundaries. Wouldn't doubt it if we see some further movement in that area. All right, anything else going on across this area of the world? Some movement across Turkey, it looks like. Alaska, what do we got going on up in Alaska? Anything major? A little bit of movement here in the Gulf and some typical activity across the subduction zone there today. So we'll just continue to watch that. Let me bring up GeoNet servers here real quick and see what we have for New Zealand. Looks like a 4.5 2 hours ago. USGS not picking up on that. That's very close to the Taupo supervolcano, but that's pretty deep there, 172 kilometers deep. That would be associated with the Hikurangi subduction zone. Let's see if that these drums picked it up. Oh yeah, definitely picking up that nice signature of the 4-pointer. Again, this is a pretty deep earthquake, and there is that subduction zone that sits just off the east coast here. The Hikurangi subduction zone gets some deeper quakes down in this area. That could add, obviously, some further strain upstream. Continue to watch that. It's been a little while since we've seen any mega quake activity there in this region, but it does have the potential. It is a subduction zone. In California again. All right, so let's see what we got for the live seismographs. Anything spectacular going on? Doesn't look like it for now. A little bit of activity around the Southern Cal area and the spikes. Nothing big though. Very small microquakes. A look at the space weather activity today. Well, continuing to show very minimal conditions out here. Looks like we did have a sea flare overnight. Got that little sharp mark here on the graph, but we have since dropped down below the sea flare category, which shows very minimal conditions. We were watching 3413 and 3415 for some development. Looks like they roughly look about the same as they did yesterday as far as the complexity goes. We'll continue to watch those two pretty massive sunspots, but they're relatively stable. Looks like this one down here is gaining a little bit more complexity. Again, we'll watch these two for some flaring and maybe some growth. No major coronal holes, no major space weather events headed our way for now. All right, Storm Prediction Center. Current day 1 outlook shows a slight risk, very small area here across portions of Illinois, Indiana area. That's mainly due to, I believe, just some wind and hail. And that's about it. Really no tornado threat out there today. Less than 2% for the entire area on the map. But definitely a lot of thunderstorm activity out there in the green. That's going to be a broad area. California remains high and dry. Let's check out the Gulf over here. Got a little bit of tropical moisture stirring up there in the Gulf regions. Uncertain, though, on if this wants to develop. It almost looks like it does. Let me go over here to the... now, this is only a couple days out, so when it's only a couple days out, that's when we got to pay attention. Western Atlantic down here. This hurricane is just going to get sent off back into the Atlantic area. But as you can see, right about here, there's a low or some type of tropical system trying to form here just south of the Gulf of Mexico. But it does look like it wants to get organized and maybe reach potentially a hurricane status there before making landfall. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. That one's rather interesting. Let me see what the National Hurricane Center is chatting about. A disturbance right now. Chance of cyclone formation in 48 hours. Let's see here. Got about a 40% chance, it looks like, of formation right here. Environmental conditions appear conducive for further development during the next several days, and a tropical depression is likely to form late this weekend or early next week while it moves generally northward over the eastern Gulf of Mexico. So that's, even the National Hurricane Center is picking up on that, so we'll have to keep a close eye on that throughout the weekend, as it's got an 80% chance of formation through the next 7 days, 40% chance of formation in the next 48 hours. So we'll continue to watch that and keep a close eye on disturbance 1 for now. It's going to be down here. Cluster of thunderstorms. We'll definitely watch that here, as that could spell a little bit of trouble if it gains some strength and heads straight into the Gulf of Mexico, where there's a much warmer waters as well. And that could spell some trouble down here across the southern states. We'll keep you guys updated, of course. We'll take a look at that later tonight as well. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off here. Got quite a bit of stuff I got to do today. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later on for the Friday night party night update. Take care. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.